Has down dog become too easy for you? If so, you're not alone. Many yogis find that once they practice downward facing dog enough times, their body simply adapts to the loads of down dog and it ceases to be a challenge for them. They basically plateau in terms of something like, say, strength gains in their downward facing dog. Now, I would definitely like to point out this is, of course, not the case for everyone. And for many yogis, down dog remains a challenging pose for as long as they practice yoga. And some of that has to do with the fact that down dog involves some significant flexibility challenges, especially like through the hamstrings and also through the shoulders. So for people for whom like they have less flexibility, say through the backs of their legs, downward facing dog can certainly remain a challenging posture for them for a long time. So this video is not so much for that population of yoga practitioners, but it's instead meant for people for whom down dog really has kind of become a not very challenging pose, and they're looking for something more out of their downward facing dog. So with that said, here are my 5 favorite down dog variations for strength. My first favorite down dog variation for strength targets the lower body and specifically the quadriceps, these muscles along the front of the thigh. So here's what it looks like. We would actually start in down dog splits, and then we will take the knee of this down leg, so my left knee in this case, and we lower the knee down toward the floor, but not to the floor, but pretty close. And then we press back into down dog splits. So we lower just above the floor, and then we press back. And this is a great way to load our quadriceps as the knee lowers and as it lifts, and it's a great way to build strength. We might think of this as like a single leg knee extension in our downward facing dog. My second favorite down dog variation for strength is also a lower body movement, and this is called bear to down dog. And for this, we will use a resistance band. The resistance band goes behind both knees and then underneath our hands. And then we start in bear pose, which is basically like a hovering tabletop, like tabletop with the knees hovering. And then we press up against the resistance of the band into our downward facing dog. Then we lower back till the knees are just hovering above the floor, but not all the way to the floor. And we press back to downward facing dog. So we're working against the pull of the band. The band is trying to pull us this way, but we're pushing against it. And that is how this is a great quadricep strengthener. Again, a lower body strengthener in downward facing dog. My third favorite down dog variation for strength is called the down dog push-up. And this is a great way to work on overhead shoulder pushing strength. And it looks like this. We start in our downward facing dog, and then we lower our head to or toward the floor, and we press up away from the floor. So our elbows reach out toward the sides. They go wide as we lower and lift. And this is, as I mentioned, a great way to work on vertical or overhead shoulder pushing strength right in our downward facing dog. My fourth favorite down dog variation for strength is called down dog alternating ankle taps. And for this, we actually start in a plank pose, but then we reach back toward down dog. And as we reach, we take our right hand over to our outer left, like shin or maybe the ankle. And then we come forward back to plank, and then left hand across to the outer right shin or ankle and back to plank. So it's like a cross body reach, one arm or one hand to the opposite leg, and we reach back. And this is a great way to work, like we add more load to the standing arm when we lift one arm. So here if I reach my left arm, I'm loading this right arm and shoulder more through this full range of motion. So it's a really great way to work on upper body loading, shoulder strength, and shoulder stability. My final favorite variation for down dog strength is called dolphin to down dog tricep extensions. So we probably know dolphin pose. Dolphin is basically downward facing dog with the elbows on the floor. So we start in dolphin, And then we lift our elbows up into downward facing dog. And then we lower with control. So we don't drop the elbows down, but we lower with control. Then we lift to down dog and we lower to dolphin. So as we lift, we are extending our elbows and we're using our tricep muscles to do that, which is why these are called tricep extensions. And it's a great way to work on upper body strength right in a down dog position. I hope you can use some of these great down dog ideas for just turning the fire back up in our downward facing dog. If you appreciated this content, subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on all of the content and tips that I share.